Hi, it's Mild Red Songbird in New York City. Mild Red Bird Song, the Michelle Bird Song. I'm doing part 3 of Eve Tells the Bilderberg story. I left off talking about the last time I was pregnant, and I didn't believe it because I never heard of an immaculate conception pregnancy except in the Bible. And I lost the babies, and now that I'm pregnant again, well, let me start to read the story. If I promise to believe in their existence, will they agree to return to my womb? Will you and my Father place them in my womb again if I promise not to commit the sin of doubt? Yes, Mother Lovell, my brother answered, Mild Red, and that's what happened in North Carolina. Talk and share. I saw him, Gurinder Singh, pull a set of 3 eyes to him. All the other satsangis who were disciples saw him too. None of us knew they were my eyes, including my 3rd eye. No one knew he was marrying me and making a baby in me. In me, I was ostracized. I had been homeless, and the satsangis, disciples who had been my friends for over 40 years, were shunning me, totally ignoring me, not making contact, not even eye contact. Indeed, Daffy Nathanson looked at me and rolled his eyes, showing disdain or disgust. The last time he'd seen me, I was still beautiful and I had all my teeth. I didn't know what was going on. I couldn't believe all my close friends, Manira Smith, Suzanne Kissing, spiritual brother Fountain Jones, and his wife, Mrs. Fountain Jones, Karen Jones, Nancy Monroe, Bush, Gross, Jewish friend. Fountain and Karen were black, American black middle class people. And Linda Zatelli, she once loaned my husband Michael and I $700 to go see Jesus Christ. Gurinder Singh for food and transportation. Babaji Gurinder Singh, like his father with the son, he doesn't charge for his boons. They are volunteers. Fast forward to 2018. I see my father regularly. He says, am I talking about 2018? Yeah. He says, I'm beautiful, daughter, and he chases me. When I'm talking about the son. Whenever he lets me watch him for more than a few minutes, when I get back home, some spectacular happening occurs. Once, my daughter in the UK, Robin, had some, Robin's dream had come true. She got positive feedback about selling a screenplay she'd written. In addition to being St. Francis of Assisi and Queen Victoria, great-great-great-grandmother of Queen Elizabeth II, and mother of Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, she was Dr. Seuss. You can see her ability to tell a story using delightful and seamless rhyme in our book. Sneezy the Greasy babysits Abigail, illustrated by genius illustrator T.J. Robshaw. That's Abigail. That's my granddaughter, Jandara Ranzinger. Okay, so, and you can see our names, Michelle Birdsong and Robin Birdsong, and this book is available at Amazon.com. Okay, so you might say, where did the character's ideas come from? From me, Mary, Eve, the Michelle Birdsong. I have projected myself to Pran Kumar Sharma, Indian cartoonist, dubbed the Walt Disney of India. T.J. Robshaw, the illustrator, was my son in a past life, and though he doesn't remember this, he responded to our energy and trusted us. He agreed to do all that work, paying close attention to detail, without a contract. Sneezy is a character with the conscience of a cockroach. Snoopy the dog, in the form of Snoop Dogg, also has the conscience of a cockroach. He admitted, maybe bragged, that he was going to give his child dope. Then, because marijuana is the devil himself, Snoop Dogg's child will have the conscience of a devil, a cockroach, like him. Now that I've been given a second chance, Jesus Christ, Govinda Singh Ji, the Buddha, Santa Claus, St. Valentine, and my Father have impregnated me again, despite the fact that only 2 people out of all the people I know, Mary Panama and Emily, my occupational therapist, and my daughter from a past life, believe that I'm pregnant. But that won't stop me. All the people, nobody believing me except the 2 of them, won't stop me from knowing that I'm pregnant. She's a Pisces. She's, that's her email. Image Swiderski at foxrehab.org. I've told people, here, is she pretty? I've told people here, she's so sweet and so open-minded. I've told people here at St. Francis that the Lord is rewarding Father Tom and his staff, some of whom were Jesus Christ's disciples, including Father Tom. He was St. James the Greater in the 1st century. Nevertheless, not one person here, staff nor resident, believes that Jesus Christ and his Father has created an immaculate conception for them. Karen, Catholic, said only Mary, 1st century Mary, could have an immaculate conception. She implied that I was not good enough. I was not as good as Mary. I didn't bother to tell her that she was talking to the virtuous woman Mary. Linda, there's Linda, Bart Simpson, in a previous life, the second best mother in the world, tied with Evelyn Jones. I, Eve, mother of the earth, the Michelle Birdsong, mother of Sing Birdsong, Robin Birdsong, Melanie L. Spear, and Anthony C. Williams was named best mother in the world. The second best mother in the world, Linda, Bart Simpson, son Vincent, black belt in karate, very nice gentleman, I really like him. Happily married, director of cybersecurity, a handsome, humble man, a good man, said she didn't believe me when I told her I was pregnant. So, returning to global research, a true story of the Bilderberg group and what they may be planning now, part 3. An official TC report, that's Trilateral Commission report, was fearful about the increased popular participation in and control over established social, political, and economic institutions, and especially a reaction against the concentration of power of Congress and of state and local government. To address this, media control was essential to exert restraint on what newspapers may publish and TV and radio broadcasts. Then, according to Richard Gardner in the July 1974 issue of Foreign Affairs, a CFR publication, CFR's leadership must make an end run around national sovereignty, eroding it piece by piece. You see that? Wow. Eroding our national sovereignty. Wow. David Rockefeller said they're against us until the very notion disappears from public discourse. It's not going to disappear. Bilderberg's CFR trilateralist success depends on finding a way to get us to surrender our liberties in the name of some common threat or crisis. The foundations, educational institutions, and research think tanks supported by these organizations oblige by financing so-called studies, which are then used to justify their every excess. The excuses vary, but the target is always individual liberty, our liberty, and much more. Bilderberg's trilateralists and CFR members want an all-encompassing monopoly. Our government, money, industry, and prosperity that's self-perpetuating and eternal. Note, that's the kind of power due the good side, the loving side, the Holy Royal Family, authorized by the highest authority, my Father, the Son. Okay, back to the report. In Confessions of a Monopolist, 1906, Frederick C. Howell explained its working in practice. The rules of big business: get a monopoly, let society work for you, so long as we see all international revolutionaries and all international capitalists as impenetrable enemies of one another, then we miss a crucial point. A partnership between international monopoly capitalism and international revolutionary socialism is for their mutual benefit. In the Rockefeller File, Gary Allen wrote, by the late 19th century, the inner sanctum of Wall Street understood that the most efficient way to gain a monopoly was to say it was for the public good and public interest. David Rockefeller learned the same thing from his father, John D. Jr., who learned it from his father, John D. Sr. They hated competition and relentlessly strove to eliminate it for David on a global scale through a new world order. In the 1970s and 1980s, trilateralists and CFR members collaborated on the latter's 1980 project, the largest ever CFR initiative to steer world events toward a particular desirable future outcome involving the utter disintegration of the economy. Why so is the question. Because by the 1950s and 1960s, worldwide industrial growth meant more competition. It was also a model to be followed and had to be strangled in the cradle, or at least greatly contained. In America as well, beginning in the 1980s. The result has been a transfer of wealth from the poor to the rich, shrinkage of the middle class, and plan for its eventual demise. In red pen I wrote, is this why Hillary said, if the people knew what we were doing to the economy, they'd hang us? Back to the report. The North American Union, NAU, the idea emerged during the Reagan administration in the early 1980s. David Rockefeller, George Shultz, and Paul Volcker told the president that Canada and America could be politically and economically merged over the next 15 years except for one problem: French-speaking Quebec. Their solution: elect a Bilderberg, friendly prime minister, separate Quebec from the other provinces, then make Canada America's 51st state. It almost worked, but not quite. When a 1995 secession referendum was defeated 50 to 56% to 49.44%, but not the idea of merger. At a March 23, 2005 Waco, Texas meeting attended by George Bush, Mexico's Vicente Fox, and Canada's Paul Martin, the Security and Prosperity Partnership, SPP, was launched, also known as the North American Union, NAU. It was a secretive independent task force of North America Agreement, a group organized by the Canadian Council of Chief Executives, CCCE, the Mexican Council on Foreign Relations, and the Council on Foreign Relations, with the following aims: circumventing the legislatures of 3 countries and their constitutions, suppressing public knowledge or consideration, and preparing greater U.S., Canadians, and Mexican economic, political, social, and security integration, with secretive working groups formed, devised, non-debatable, not voted on agreements to be binding and unchangeable. In short, a corporate coup d'etat against the sovereignty of 3 nations enforced by hardline militarization to suppress opposition. If enacted, it will create a borderless North America, corporate-controlled, without barriers to trade or capital flows from business grants, mainly U.S. ones, and much more, America's access to vital resources, especially oil and Canada's fresh water. Secretly, over 300 SPP initiatives were crafted to harmonize the continent's politicos on energy, food, drug security, immigration, manufacturing, the environment, and public health, along with militarizing 3 nations for enforcement. SPP represents another step toward the Bilderberg trilateralist CFR goal for world government, taking it one step at a time. United Europe was another, the result of various treaties and economic agreements. The December 1951 Six-Nation European Coal and Steel Community, ECSC, the March 1957 Six-Nation Treaty of Rome establishing the European Economic Community, EEC, also the European Atomic Energy Commission, EAEC, by a second Treaty of Rome. The October 1957 European Court of Justice to settle regional trade disputes, the May 1967 Nation European Free Trade Association, EFTA, the July 1967 European Economic Community, EEC, merging the ECSC, the EAEC, and the EEC together in one organization. The 1968 European Customs Union to abolish duties and establish uniform imports taxing among EEC nations. In 1978 European Currency Unit, ECU, the February 1986 Single European Act, revision of the 1957 Treaty of Rome. It established the objective of forming a common market by December 31st, 1992. The February 1992 Maastricht Treaty, creating the EU on November 1st, 1993. And the name Euro was adopted in December 1995. It was introduced in January 1999, replacing the European Currency Union, ECU. Euros began circulating on January 2002. They're now the official currency of 16 of the 27 European Union states over half a century. The above steps cost EU members their sovereignty, as some 70 to 80% of the laws passed in Europe involve just rubber stamping of regulations already written by nameless bureaucrats in working groups in Brussels or Luxembourg. The EU and NAU share common features: advocacy from an influential spokesperson, an economic and later political union, hardline security, and for Europe, ending wars on the continent between EU member states, establishment of a collective consciousness in place of nationalism. And I wrote, the EU and NAU share common features. No, the EU and NAU share common features: establishment of a collective consciousness in place of nationalism, the blurring of borders, and creation of a supra-government, a super-state, secretive arrangements to mask real objectives, and the creation of a common currency and eventual global one. Steps toward a North American Union. The October 4, 1988 Free Trade Agreement, FTA, between the U.S. and Canada. Financials. Finalized the previous year. At the 1991 Bilderberg meeting, David Rockefeller got Governor Bill Clinton's support for NAFTA if he became president. Yeah, we talked about that. He did support it, and it did become law. And this year, actually 2018, President Trump signed an agreement with Mexico and Canada where we will receive billions of dollars if it's passed. He said it was a great deal for us. On January 1st, 1994, with no debate under fast-track rules, Congress approved WTO legislation. Okay, so that is all I have written. And if you want to read all of the article, which I wholeheartedly suggest you do that, because it affects you and anybody you care about, including your country, go to Global Research, The True Story of the Bilderberg Group, and What They May Be Planning Now, by Stephen Lindman. Okay, and read. You can get the entire article. It's so informative, and it's so shocking what they're doing to us. Everything that's happening was already planned, and it's written. And so, where we're saying, oh, do you believe this? They're doing that. You can believe it, okay? It was a plan, and they're carrying it out. This is Miles Red Songbird in New York City. I'll talk to you tomorrow. It's January 15th, 2019. Good night.